A Splinterlands water deck coming right at you for $50, $100, and $250. Stay tuned. Hello, hola, ¿cómo está everybody? This is Luke with Luke Plays to Earn as I help you guys go from small investors, the little krill, the whale food, into whales one day ourselves. And this time we're talking about Splinterlands water deck. And if you missed it, we already did a fire deck. You can go watch that video and the Chaos Legion breakpoints with all the cards listed at their most important levels. Before we start the water deck build though, I do want to shout out our amazing Yip Yip Hooray for ZenSports sponsor. And they have a new NFT collection that is coming out that you can get whitelisted for their mint. Here are what the NFTs look like. And they have real IRL benefits for those who are especially sports and esport fans. So check it out, link in the description below. All right, let's talk about our water deck. Kelya here for the modern format, which means we can't use alpha and beta cards and some of the older promo and reward cards, but we're gonna give you guys a deck for $50, $100, and then I'm gonna do $250 for this one because in our Tarsa video, we can make it work with $200, but for a level 4 silver great deck, you're probably going to need to spend a little more on Kelya because Kelya itself is more expensive than Tarsa in our last video. Plus, some of those legendary cards and some of those older cards are pretty dang expensive. And I think it's because, honestly, Kelya is one of the most used summoners right now in the modern format. Now, why is Kelya so strong? Well, in my opinion, there's a couple great cards that can bring a lot of opportunity attack to the team. You can also mix it up with some range damage like Axemaster, and you can throw in some still decent magic, even though we're not using the Ulrich +1 magic summoner anymore. Add that to the speed boost and the armor it gives you a little more protection for your whole team and a little more speed to go first or to create extra dodge opportunities. So for this reason, you'd probably notice at bronze that Kelya is spammed a lot using the Serpent of Eld with heals and armor repairs. And then even for me in silver and gold, I like using Kelya especially for high mana battles because there are a lot of powerful high mana monsters. Now, we're not going to go over every single card in this build, but you can look at the Google Sheet yourself. I'll put it in the description and in the comments below if you want to go look at a $50 build, a $100 build, or in my opinion, a $250 build if you can. Obviously, us as Krills, most of us probably can't reach this, but even this is a good one to aim for now. And as you build up assets, as you blog, as you get giveaways, then you can start aiming towards a level 4 Kelya, which again is one of my favorite decks to use. Now over here on the left side, you can see all of the most important levels for these cards at bronze, silver, and gold, just like the Chaos Legion video. Again, this is not the max level potential for these leagues. It's what is most important because sometimes you'll get like a common card, for instance, going from a level 4 to a level 5 can be pretty expensive and it can just sometimes give you an extra health. Is it really worth it to spend that extra money when you can just sit at a level 4 and not pay the extra, $2, $3, $5 and put it into a different card instead? Also, shout out to Macros in our community. He is a Krill Crew member, team member that has helped me code this so that these numbers will update from time to time. It is based on the low BCX price, so it won't be exact if you're going for like max level or 7 level in gold. Those will be a little bit off, but these ones should be pretty accurate in bronze and silver and will update from time to time so that you can get a rough idea looking at this sheet. So for the 3 deck examples we're going to build, they're all going to be picking and choosing. We can't buy up every single card that we want. I mean, even just look at bronze level, some of these most important cards at their breaking point. If we went out and bought all those cards leveled up to those points, you're talking about already $386. So for these different guides here for $50, $100, and $250, these are the examples that I have chosen to keep us within those budget ranges. And of course, there's subjectivity, so anyone can argue or change and swap things out to fit your playstyle. Don't forget, there's also neutrals, which I'm not counting towards the budget because any of these neutrals can be played across all of your decks, but they can also power up your water deck as well. One thing I do want to point out about these builds before jumping over to peak monsters and talking about specific monsters is that, again, because the water deck, because Kelya is a little more expensive, in our $100 example, we're still going to stay at a level 2 Kelya because I think it's more important to grab some of these leveled up or add some of these legendaries. You can see even some of these $50 examples, we had to leave out things like Bakjira because this legendary airdrop is more expensive than some of the other legendary airdrops. So that's just $13 itself. So for my $100 build, I'm actually sticking with the level 2 Kelya. And if you want to go for a level 4 Kelya and really push yourself into high silver, even low gold 3, that's where it's going to be more that $250 you're going to probably need for this build. All right, so let's jump over to Peak Monsters. I'm going to highlight some of the most important cards to me for my builds. Again, I'm not going to go over every single card and over every single level. Also, remember, I'm thinking for the modern format, which is going to split from the wild format here in a couple months. And so cards like Sea Genie or Sea Monster with an old background that doesn't have these cracks, or the Chaos Legion background, those won't be able to play anymore in the modern league. So let's jump straight into some of the most important commons. The Pelacor Bandit, while you might think this is a cheap reward card, who cares about it? It actually can be a pretty strong card, especially in the silver levels when you can get it to level 4 and it has 2 sneak attack damage. It is so fast. It also has flying, so sometimes you can use it as a monster in your backline and sneak attack their backline and also have them miss and have a good dodge chance with the high speed and the flying. Even at that bronze level, you'll see you'll get an extra speed, which I think is worth it to grab. And you can see this card is really cheap at level 3, even is 52 cents. The Cruel Cephalopod, while again, it's not a very sexy card, there's nothing that's like awesome about it. It is only 3 mana. It is pretty nice in Little League battles to go up and level this thing to level 3 to get that extra attack damage, or if you're in silver, to give it a couple more shield or HP, because again, it can just be a really cheap tank to add to your team. The Flying Squid is another important card for Kelya. Just remember that, you know, we always used to think about the water as the magic team with Ulrich if you're an older player into this game, but honestly, Kelya with melee damage is actually really powerful right now. So getting your Flying Squid to at least level 3 is what we're going to do in each of these decks. It buffs up the damage. This is actually one of the rare times where I actually like a reach monster, because it also can fall and be a decent secondary tank once your first tank dies off with 8 HP, which is not bad. And it's a little bit more expensive if you can go for level 5 to get the extra speed, then it's definitely worth it here in silver. But I think at least at level 3 for my decks is where I need that extra damage. Deep Lurker, again, is one of those cards that you need to spam over and over again. It's super powerful with 3 melee damage and opportunity. You need to at least get it to level 2 for all your decks, so it gets the 3 speed buffed up to 4 with Kelya. And then in silver, especially if you can get it to the 4 damage, it becomes even more lethal. Demented Shark is definitely an old reward card you want to go grab. As I said earlier, Kelya now is actually pretty strong melee damage, so getting Inspire will give +1 melee to your whole team. So even a level 1 for, you know, our $50 or $100 deck is pretty awesome. Getting to level 3 for our $250 deck is worth it because it gets the extra damage. So it can buff up your whole team, and especially in rule sets where melee monsters can attack from anywhere, you can put this in the middle position, still get attack damage and buff up your whole team. Put it in with the Disintegrator, you can nerf their melee damage, buff your melee damage, and it can be a pretty big difference in a lot of your matches. Then lastly, I want to talk about the Feasting Seaweed. This kind of card at your $50 deck isn't probably going to be doable, but at your $100 and $250 deck, getting level 3 for the extra melee attack, maybe even level 4, that's probably too expensive. But you can run something like this, plus Deep Lurker, and they can really pop off with, you know, 6 or 7 opportunity melee damage towards the other team. It can be pretty lethal to them. This is kind of the card that's an older card that I would go make some bids. I wouldn't buy straight out of the gate. See if you can get some cheaper prices and fit this into your deck leveled up to number 3. Now for the $50 or $100 deck, it's going to be a little bit harder to fit leveled up rares because you can only get level 2 rares. Once we get to that level 4 Kelya at the $250 deck, that's where we can see some rares become even more useful. But you can get a couple things, like I would take the River Nymph. You could look at maybe level 2 for the extra speed to cleanse your front line, especially in poison battles, a little bit quicker. Stuff like that can make a difference. Or the Guardian, the heal coming in with 1 speed quicker. That is something that I would look for that $100 deck. The Mandarin, though, in our $250 deck, that's when we can get Triage. That is something that you can definitely go, and that's really powerful ability for only about $6.50. Then from there, some of these older Untamed cards are really expensive to level up because they're super important in higher leagues. But I think for all of our decks, we can at least go grab a Captain's Ghost. That's going to give you an Affliction on the water team, especially in bronze and silver. There's lots of healing going on, so it's nice to be able to stop that. And it's also good to at least get a level 1 Kelp Initiate, because for 2 mana, this is a tank that has 5 health, and it's just an easy thing that you can stick in to absorb, sneak, snipe, or sometimes even put it in the front line before your other tank falls into the first position, or low mana, just throw it out as your only tank. All right, jumping into epics, again, these cards are a little more expensive than other decks because the water team is so popular. So for $50, you need to at least go get level 1 Narissa. Wave Brood for the taunt can be super important. Throw that on your back line, especially if you can get something like the Spirit Hoarder, the new legendary airdrop neutral, can heal up a Wave Brood in your back line, keep that taunt going on longer and longer. And then you're going to need at least one Axe Master because this is such a powerful card. The double strike, 2 range, you're doing 4 damage each turn. This card right here is one that can definitely crush in bronze and low silver. Now for $100 and $250 decks, you can go grab an Igor, you can add the Asmar Harpoonist for more range damage, you can grab Torhilo as another tank with Void instead of just using Oceanus. Now in our $100 deck and our $250 deck, I flip-flop back and forth. For a $100 deck, I chose Torhilo because it's a cheaper tank than Lobstradamus, but Lobstradamus for the extra money for our $250 deck is pretty good to fit in because there's not much shielding in the water team, even though there are other good frontline tanks. It's nice to have a shield to reduce that damage for range and melee attacks. Lastly, let's talk about legendaries. All these ones here at the bottom, you can see they're going to be way too expensive to get. A Phantom of the Abyss is going to be almost half our budget even for our $250 deck. Some important things to talk about though, even at our $50 deck, I think it's important to go grab Jhin Oceanus at level 1. He can add extra magic damage to your team. They can get the Void, and there's potential to dodge melee and range attacks. Although, I think for our $250 deck, you want to go get a level 2 Oceanus because that's when you get phase and you can also miss magic attacks. So add that to the Kelya speed, add that to, debuffs with Bakjira, and Oceanus is going to be actually a pretty legit level 2 legendary that is pretty cheap right now because it's a reward card that's being printed still. Torrent Fiend, I unfortunately could not fit it in the $50 deck because I wanted other cards, but definitely in your $100 or $250, you need to get this at level 1 unless you're really heading off on your way to Diamond or Champion. To me, Fiends don't make sense to max out or level up because, you're just getting the extra health or the extra speed. For us, I don't think it really matters. Spend your money elsewhere unless you're trying to get max level for Diamond. Now, River Helendale is a card that I actually don't use too often. The Resurrect to me, unless it's a weird scenario where your monster has a lot of shield and they only have range and melee attack, they're not just going to hit it down with another magic attack. Or there happens to be a case where you resurrect it and then get a nice heal off onto your teammate. That can be nice. Other than that, I don't find the Resurrect all too meaningful, but especially in our $250 deck, again, adding River Helendale at level 2, even though it's pretty dang expensive, it can be at times around 25 to 26 bucks. That's why you should put a bid in if you can. And having that Inspire though, again, Kelya is such a great melee team right now with all the opportunity, with the reach, the sneak attack, adding Inspire plus the Demented Shark, you can get now 2 extra melee damage potentially to your whole team for your level 4 Kelya. Then we have Bakjira, which again is another good Void tank, 11 health, and they slow the rest of their team. So this is a good card with Kelya adding speed to your team, slowing down their team. You can create some good dodge opportunities for your team. Unfortunately, the $50 couldn't fit it in because again, it's one of those more expensive legendaries, but definitely at the $100 and $250 level, go grab a level 1. I don't think you need the level 2. The level 3 in gold is super nice with the heal, but the strengthen I don't find too incredibly useful for the expensive price of $37 in your deck. All right, now let's talk real briefly about some important neutrals that you could add to your team. Gargoyle Lion, shout out, even though I don't think it's that important to your team until it gets Void at level 5. Disintegrator, again, you can just keep at level 1, but this is a good thing to pair up as you inspire their team for heavy melee matches. You can also do a Demoralize towards their team, and so you're nerfing their melee damage while buffing your own. Gargoyle Devil at level 3 for your level 4 Kelya. It's going to get it 3 range attack, 4 speed with Kelya, and 2 armor. So it's also going to potentially dodge some shots out in your backline, or if it falls to your front line, it still has close range. If you get that level 4 Kelya, your Reyes at level 2 with that 2 melee attack, you can potentially get a lot of sneak attack onto their backline as well. Battering Ram and Parasitic Growth can be a little bit more expensive to level up. But if you can, there are scenarios where it's fun to run triple opportunity and something like the Demented Shark to inspire all their damage. Add that with Feasting Seaweed and Deep Lurker. Again, that can be a triple threat. Doesn't work all the time, but again, can be useful in certain cases. Sandworm is another card that I would get to level 2, and that's because it gets 2 speed. This card does a lot of damage to their backline, especially in heavy, high mana battles, but the problem is it always misses. The nice thing with Kelya, though, it gets a +1 speed, and if you can get it to level 2 where it already has 2 speed, then it has 3 speed and generally misses quite a bit less. Spirit Hoarder, I already talked about. Getting this at level 1 is helpful for all leagues, all levels of your team, because especially with something like the Wave Brood, taunting towards your backline, you can heal it up, keep the rest of your team safe. Supply Runner for your level 4 Kelya with Swiftness. Again, you can create huge speed differentials with Kelya, Bakjira, and now Supply Runner as well. And then for all your decks, you're going to want a level 2 Zenith Monk, especially for that heal, and especially in Little League battles. You can have that 4 mana Zenith Monk. It can be a great tank. All right, Splinterlands fans and Krill crew, what did you think? Did we do all right in this water build? What would you change? How would you edit this? And are you using Kelya versus some of those other decks? Are you looking to get it at $50, $100, or $250 budget? Or are you passing on for something else like the Death or Fire or Earth deck? Eventually, I want to make a deck guide for each of these for the modern format coming out here soon. So let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you guys on Twitter and in the Discord. Love you, Krill crew. Have a great day. And again, shout out to Macros for helping me create this video. Peace out. Palam. Adios.